Hey YouTube. Okay. It's been 2 months since I've done Instacart. So let me make a video about my experience and my thoughts about Instacart. Well, Instacart I could say is quite interesting. It's interesting because it's like they are very metric driven in regards to giving you your stats. Now, let me go ahead and tell you about my experience. So now, of course, Instacart has measures where they based on your shopping speed, how fast you find items in the store and complete the delivery. So they matrix basically on seconds. So if you have 25 items, then they will measure how fast you shop throughout the store. And based on your speed in any given market, they rank you. So at the end of every week, they give you a leadership board. They'll rank you in terms of your speed and delivery and checkout. So the markets that I've worked primarily in the beginning was Lawrenceville area because one, I live in Stone Mountain, but I live close to Gwinnett, and I really wanted to stay more in familiar areas that I was, familiar with, like Lawrenceville, Snellville, Lilburn, and not travel so far. But let me tell you, I racked up a lot of miles traveling in the Lawrenceville market. Now, the Lawrenceville market was new when I first signed up. That's how I was able to get on with Instacart because they had opened up new markets in Lawrenceville, and I think Marietta was another location, and they also had rezoned a couple other of their districts, like North Fulton County, OTP, which is outside of the perimeter, and North Atlanta. They had broke those markets, those boundaries up. So of course, when they opened up Lawrenceville, then they had hired new shoppers, and I was so happy to be one of those shoppers in Lawrenceville. Now, in 2 months, I would say I made pretty decent amount of money, but let me tell you, most of every week that I worked, they had to give me the bump and guarantee. Now, let me tell you how it works. So, let's say you signed up for 40 hours in a week, and depending on the market you're in, they'll give you either the $10 guarantee if you don't make over $400 in a 40-hour week. So my first few weeks when I was working with Instacart in Lawrenceville, it was quite slow. I had signed up for all day, 7-8 hours, and at first it was really slow. I mean, it was like I was literally sitting there in the car waiting for an order to come through, and then I may get one order, but it will be always closer to like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock during the weekday. As for Saturday and Sundays, when I'm able to get on the schedule, I would get, I'll do pretty good. It'll be like 4 orders each day. The weekends, I would make like maybe about $300 in 2 days. And that's pretty good for me, and considering that it was pretty slow. Now, when I mean slow, I'm talking about, say you work a 7-hour day and you only get one order, and then you get maybe, when you break down the pay versus the hours you sat there or waiting, it may be like $3-4 per hour. However, Instacart will give you the bump in pay. So after a while, I started venturing out to other areas. And then I did Atlanta. And Atlanta, when I mean Atlanta, I'm talking about midtown, downtown, off of Ponce. I didn't like it at all. I did not like working in Atlanta because, one, it just had a bad experience. It was like the week before St. Patrick's Day, I had a $200 order. I was going to an apartment complex in the heart of downtown. They didn't have any kind of parking, but had valet, and basically the valet company out that was in mandating the parking lot trapped me in, causing me to miss a delivery at Whole Food at Ponce. Then they destroyed my car. They didn't want me to get out, but that's another video. I don't even know if I made a video about that incident. So then, of course, one of the things with Atlanta was parking issues and delivering groceries, especially in apartment buildings. I hated the fact that if I had to go to an apartment, because number one, again, I was come across people who would order these $200 orders. Everybody had big cases of water and soda. And then the thing about it is that they would even tip. And it's not so much that, like I already told you my other video about tipping in your character. But what really burnt me about doing Instacart in Atlanta is when you're delivering to grown-ass men who you would think that they would even help you. It's your fucking groceries. You would think that they would help you lift up these cases of sodas, but they'll stand right at the door like they privileged. Like they so privileged, prima donnas, And then on top of that, you don't even tip. That's what burns me up the most. Is when your own people, men in particular, now I ain't gonna say all, but when you do that and you sit up there and then you sit, I don't even want to get on that topic. So after that, and then the thing about Atlanta is they only paid $5.40 delivery fee. And then when I did Atlanta, I had a lot of delivery only, meaning that I had to go to the Whole Foods, scan the bags, and deliver the groceries to the people's house. Now most of the people in Atlanta, if I was delivering in Atlanta, particularly in residential areas, they tend to tip very good. Brookhaven, not all the time, but I could say it was, I would say out of the 100% percentage of people tip, I say I would get probably about maybe 40%. Maybe 40% of the people tip. That's just how it is. Someone told me that it's a hit or miss with the tips, but I found out also the reason they may not tip in Instacart is because the way they had so-called disguised the feature. And I found that out yesterday when I was delivering some groceries out there in Lawrenceville, and it was like almost $200 worth of groceries. And I asked him, did he live in a house or an apartment? He lived in an apartment. And then, of course, he didn't put down his apartment number or anything. But then he was this African guy. He was, it sound like African people sound like they always want to argue with you when I told you this, I told you that. And I said, you know what, that's just the way they talk. So I learned that, don't always sweat it. That's just the way they are. They are very strong, demanding, abrupt people, I guess you could say. So, but I end up getting $45 tip from him too, because I was like, I would appreciate the gratuity at the end in the rating for my service. And he was like, well, let me see. And then when he looked at the app, he realized, yes, it did look different than what it looked like when he used to live out in Alpharetta. And he You know, you had to literally scroll and look for the option for the tip, so it's hidden. You know, so now I kind of figure out some people's reasonings as to why they may not tip. If they don't give you a rating at the end, and they don't scroll down where it asks for tip option, they won't even know it. And I think Instacart is doing that on purpose, to be honest. You know, I think that if they really think that they want to sustain shoppers before Amazon starts dominating the market in the food delivery service and groceries, they're going to need to change that. They're going to need to change how people view that app in regarding tipping the drivers, because number one, it was confusing for me, and had the person's phone showing him, so I could see where people may not tip, you know, but you know, I don't know. But anyways, but so far in these almost 2 months that I've done it, you know, the number of hours I worked, I pretty much got the guarantee. So if I schedule 30 hours, I got 300. If I schedule 35 hours, I got 350. I've never got more than I never made more than the minimum guarantee. Because when you stay in such markets like Lawrenceville, you don't get as many orders unless it's on the weekends. And then another thing with that is that it was so far off. You know, Gwinnett is a big county, so a lot of the orders came on the other side of Lawrenceville, like Beaufort, you know. So, and then it was like that area of the county in Lawrenceville is not the most affluent, I guess you could say, but it's somewhat low working class. So I don't know. A lot of people use the service maybe because they don't have a car or whatever the case may be. I don't know, but pretty much, if you could get on the schedule with Lawrenceville, because I think they only have about 12 or 15 shoppers that service that market, and if they have schedulings available for Lawrenceville, for instance, like yesterday, I managed to get 3 hours with Lawrenceville, but then they asked me, do I want to start early? Do I want to extend my block to 2 hours extra because they need people? So the good thing is that if you get a block, take as many blocks as you can get, because it goes by quick. It goes by real fast, I can tell you that. So I'm in the 13-minute mark, so I'm going to make part 2 because my videos be too long and I need to know how to make it a little bit shorter. So let me make part 2 of my Instacart experience. Bye.